Hello, hello, hello to each of you in your respective places. I'm hoping that you're doing well in every way possible from the inside out. You are tuned in to Conversations in the Nick of Time. I am your host, Nikki Roach. It has been a minute. Life happens and we have to kind of reposition ourselves, but now we are ready to go, ready to roll with some absolutely dynamic leaders. Those of you new to the platform, it is Conversations in the Nick of Time, where we explore leadership on all levels. And we talk about excellence and accidents because we know we need both of them to be successful in every way possible, right? Yes. Success as you define it, not as the world defines it. But today, after this conversation, I promise you, your level of success and what it means to live in that space will be elevated. I am just absolutely delighted to have with us. We've worked and worked and worked to get this timing together because this sister is always up in the air. You're going to get what I'm saying in just a moment. Claire Soares, how are you?
I am amazing. A little sore from tennis practice this morning, but amazing nevertheless.
Yeah. Want to introduce you to the listening audience. I'm most excited, as you probably can see. Claire Soares, she is absolutely an amazing sister who has taken an industry that I'm into, but I did not realize how into it I could be after reading her progress in the travel industry. And just a little bit about her, Claire Soares channels her love for luxury, champagne, and exotic destinations to launch a multi-million-dollar flagship company called Up in the Air Life. Some of you may or may not be familiar with it, but in 2020, Claire was noted as one of the most influential Black women in travel by Travel Noire. In 2021, she received the highest designation as a 2021 top travel specialist by Conde Nast Traveler, article that I read to be introduced to you. As a former travel sales exec at a Fortune 500, she traveling over 1,000 flights during her sales career. And because of that, and I wanted to share this background because see how something that we are already a part of can trigger and position us for what's next for us in life. But she took all of those experiences, launched this company Up in the Air Life. And then not only did she launch it, but she mastered it to make it a one-stop destination to help each of us in our accommodations. But she's also been featured Walmart Black Girl Magic campaign, the AirBnB Inaugural Black Travel Leaders list, USA Today, the Huffington Post, Essence, Ebony, The Root, Rolling Out, the Griot. That's just a few. I'm going to stop right there. How in the world did you take, though? I'm going to jump right in. I know you traveled extensively, but what made you just say, pause, wait a minute, I could be doing some of this myself?
Well, it was definitely like, I realized after traveling a lot, I was in these travel spaces, but everything was very centered around around budget in the Black travel space. So I would be in these travel groups and it was always about like the cheapest hotel, the cheapest hostel, the cheapest deal. And it was very centered around saving money for travel. But it was definitely clashing with my day job where we were staying at really nice places. We stayed at the W's, the Westins, the Four Seasons. And when we got our reward trips for work, we were staying at like Fairmont, these top Hyatt properties. I mean, things that were like 500 plus a night and getting handwritten notes from the CEO with, come to the Tiffany's table in the lounge and pick out whatever you want, or like, $200-300 gifts dropped in our room. And so I was having these experiences and I was like, it wasn't like congruent with what I was experiencing. And I was like, you know what? People like me also want to experience other things. Like there's nothing wrong with budget, but I feel like once you're working really hard and you reach a certain financial level, you definitely want to do more stuff. But the problem I feel like is a lot of us don't know people that are having these upper echelon or these more extravagant experiences. So we don't even know where to start. And so that's what birthed my company, is to basically bridge that gap where you see someone that looks like you at a safari, or, you know, drinking a glass of champagne in a Moet cellar, or going to these places. Because honestly, I do think representation does matter. And I know even for me moving abroad, I didn't move abroad until I saw Black women living abroad in Mexico. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, I'm moving to Mexico. Because everyone's like, why'd you move? And I'm like, I've been coming there for years. I have friends who live there, but until I saw Black women who look like me, doing everything I could possibly want, having families, married, children, thriving, that's what did it.
And then you say all of these different things, and you are so right in regards to, yes, we travel, we being those of us of color, you know, many of us, there has been an increase, an influx of us in this travel space, especially over the last few years. But what's interesting is that, you know, myself being a traveler, love traveling. However, there has always been like, how do you get the best deal? How do you get the best package, which is usually not included or including those extras. But as you mentioned, those extras are things that you don't even know to ask for or to even anticipate. Now, once you get on a flight to go into, I had a chance to go over to Dubai, that's a whole nother level of flying. And when you experience that, you're like, I'm supposed to get back on United, not to shame.
Right.
But I'm just saying the exposure, but help us understand, because that exposure does change. It changes your lens. And then I also had the chance to go over to Greece, where everything is marble, and they literally come and bring your breakfast, and they come turn down and put chocolates on your bed, and you can get used to that. What is a myth though about like the money? Because people say, oh, I'm not there yet.
So I think that so I don't think luxury travel is something that's really marketed a lot, or even luxurious things necessarily. It's not something that's usually marketed to Black people. I also think luxury is not really a term that Black people recognize. Like, I think for a lot of my clients, when they met me or when they met my company, they may not have considered themselves luxury or even like jive with that. That's why we say bougie travel, because if you Black, you get it. Bougie travel, that's what we called it. You know, I know sometimes we can have a negative conversation, but if I say bougie, they get it. We're the brunch girls. We're the people that want to stay at the really nice places, who want to be taken care of. What I think is very discounted and sometimes in our community is service. And that was something that when I was in this space, it was all about saving money and doing this. But what happened was, in those spaces, I feel like service and being treated how you deserve to be treated is something that was amiss with these companies. Like, they're giving the best deal, but you're not being treated right. They're not really thinking about the whole experience. It's pretty basic what they're going to offer you. And what I wanted to do is really center around the person. Like, I want to make, you know, one of our visions for the company that we say every day in our meeting is, we want to make our clients feel special. We want them to be able to show up without thinking about the details. So, you know, price is obviously going to always be a concern, but it's more about, I want all my clients to walk away feeling that we treated them amazing. I want them to feel like when they buy something, they can trust we're going to deliver. And that's something that we've always done. Like, my word, it's very important to me. I always tell my team, if we say something, we're going to have to do it. So be mindful of what y'all saying, what you say we're going to do, because I do think quality and customer service, like as a Black person, we don't always get to have great experiences. And so I want people to, like, as Americans, you only get 2 weeks, 3 weeks vacation. I want them to travel with us and really feel like they're being taken care of and we're feeding their soul.
And I love the fact that you're truly tuned into the customer experience. And that's something that we usually don't tag on to, not in a way that is normalized. No, I'm going for the experience. I want to feel the experience, be a part of the experience. And with that, I'm telling you, like, some people will say like, oh my gosh, that may be a little steep in price. But when we're talking about, you're not talking about grabbing some girlfriends and going to Chicago. places that you're going. I know there's a few. I had the opportunity to sit in one of your sessions to go over the whole plan for Ghana. I sat in the Ghana one. I have tickets already, but because of COVID, I wasn't able to go. But I'm like, okay, let me sit in. And then I sat in another one. I believe it was the Greece. And even the presentation, you could tell there was careful thought to make even the presentation and experience to where it's like, wow, first of all, that's possible. And then second of all, look at this footage of and this video and this audio and testimonials of people that I hang out with. I caught that.
Yes.
Share a little bit about that whole packaging and marketing experience.
Yeah. So one of the things that early on, we had a marketing genius, Whitney Marie, and she's the founder and CEO of 19th and Park in New York. And she actually has tons of accolades and articles about her. Super dope. She taught me that video is everything. So from the very beginning, we were just starting out. Our first video was a video she produced for our Egypt trip. And I realized when I looked across our competitors, nobody really has video. They just got like some basic pictures. And a lot of times it's not even pictures of people on trips. So it always makes me wonder, like, you're selling trips, but you're not even showing people on your trips in your photos. They're like stock photos. And so the way that I felt that I could take over the market is showing people videos of our actual clients on a trip. And so we invested a lot of money to have videos for every single trip. I think we're like more than 50% there out of 18 destinations. We have a few more. Actually, we're more than 50%. We have a few more we're going to knock out next year. But that video experience to actually show people is really what I think is key, because that visuals, I don't think anyone's reading your 5-page itinerary. They're not. I mean, I think our itinerary is maybe like 15 pages. People are skimming through it. They want to be Instagram. They want to be Instagrammable. They want to connect with their roots. They want to know that the hotel has slippers, turn down service, as you mentioned. They want to know they're taken care of. They don't want to have to worry about the details. And that's what we do.
Wonderful. Oh, I'm telling you, this is just amazing. What would you say has been one of the top myths in regards to why people don't take advantage of luxury travel?
I think the number one is they feel like they assume they can't afford it. They also think, oh, I'm not a luxury traveler. I don't relate to that. I don't need all that. I'm not spending a lot of time in my hotel room. And it's interesting it's the same thing when people say like, oh, I don't need to have business class. And I'm like, have you flown business class? Because if you haven't, I don't think you can say I don't need it. How can you say you don't need something if you've never experienced it? First of all, business is a game changer, especially you're talking about a 24-hour experience. You're talking about being able to lie down, being able to have this amazing food, enjoy drink, but more so being able to be well rested and landing in your destination refreshed. It's a huge difference from sitting in an economy seat and being exhausted when you land. And so I just think people just they haven't experienced it and they don't even know. But I definitely know, like, our retention rate is like over 30% at this point. So there's a high degree of clients that once they experience it, they're like, oh yeah, this is easy. Like, I know I'm booking multiple trips.
Interesting. Very interesting. So when you have, say for instance, you have a trip coming up, let's walk our listeners through it. You have a trip that's coming up and you pick one that you have going on right now. What happens?
Okay. So one of our big trips coming up next year is Croatia Yacht Week. That's one of our signature trips. But it's not the Croatia Yacht Week people read about. It's Croatia that we charter a mega yacht. We have our own DJ who is spinning hip hop, R&B, soca, everything for the 7 days straight.
Croatia.
Right. And so when the trip opens, clients are able to book with a small deposit. I think right now, if you watch the webinar, it's like $1. And then the next month, your payments are typically around $300 a month. And we auto debit your payments every month until you're paid off. There's nothing you have to do. And then we have meetings with clients a few months before the trip. There's also full documentation, like a welcome document that tells you all about where you're going. We also have Amazon pages to shop so that you already know where to shop. And then we have WhatsApp groups when we get closer to the trip to actually engage. And so people just need to show up. We pretty much ask you what you like to eat, what you like to drink, and then all the menus are pretty much set up according to what you've requested. And so Croatia is a really great one that a lot of clients who went in 2019, they all said they wanted to go again. So we added another week. So we have 3 weeks this year. And they basically bought out the boat. 50% of the boat from people that already went on the trip are coming again because they know like it's an amazing trip.
So you're saying 3 weeks, you're going to be on the trip for 3 weeks?
I'm not going to be on it, but our company will be on it. We have a mega yacht for 3 weeks next year in Croatia.
Okay. And then when you have those set dates, are those pretty much you're locked into those dates when your group is going to, okay.
Yeah. So like for Croatia is a good example. Almost all the destinations have 2 weeks, more than half of them. And so once you're registered for a week, you can always switch to another week if you want, if you have friends, or switch to another trip if you'd like to as well. But yeah, Croatia is pretty amazing. I mean, that's one of the trips, most popular trips. Another most popular trip I would say is Egypt. Egypt and South Africa are our most popular trips. I think both of them are just so amazing. They include so many different destinations. South Africa is Johannesburg, a safari, Cape Town. So you're doing like wine country, you're doing safari vibes. And then you're also doing like the vibe and urban city of Johannesburg with Soweto, where Mandela's house was. So it's just filled with so much. Mm-hmm. And then Egypt is just like one of the beginnings, some of the beginnings of one of the strongest civilizations that were African, and so many kings and queens that you get to learn about luxury down the Nile and in Cairo. It's just a lot to take on. I've been on that trip for 4 years, and each time I learned something new, and I still in the back of my head is like, oh, maybe I'll go this year. Maybe like I'm thinking about it. I'm not sure, but I'm thinking about it.
This is amazing. Let's switch gears just a little bit and we'll come back to the company. Mm-hmm. You as the founder, coming up with this amazing idea of bridging the gap between your two worlds, and where did you even start in regards to because we're not talking about something that you're just hosting events within the city in which you reside. You're taking people from all over the world to various destinations all over the world. Mm-hmm. Where did you even start with the dream?
Man, it all started with Croatia Yacht Week. So the Yacht Week, if you go to the Yacht Week, I think it's theyachtweek.com. Okay. That was our first trip. I went on Yacht Week I saw the video for Yacht Week. I wanted to go, and that was the first trip we hosted. And so it's these little tiny Beneteau sailboats, and you go with like hundreds of people from around the world. And I wanted to go. My friends were like, Claire, you should organize this. And that was the first trip of Up in the Air Life. And so we did that trip. That is not a luxury trip. It's literally like camping.
But your friends recommended you put it together.
Yeah, in a travel group, they were like tagging me like, Claire, put this together. And that was our first trip. And then the second trip we put together was like Colombia. And then we went to Mexico. And so I was really figuring it out. One of the things like I always tell people when they're creating something is be okay with just taking the first step. Okay. What Up in the Air Life today is not the same of what it was 5 years ago, or even 8 years ago, or even 3 years ago. It's different. Like your concepts, your thoughts are going to be fine-tuned. They're going to shift. They're going to change. And literally, like I took that concept of creating this trip, and that was the beginning. We also used to have, before COVID, a whole event program where we had people strategically in all the major metropolitan cities in the US that would host lifestyle events. So we had a whole team hosting stuff at the horse races or at an Ethiopian wine stuff. And so there's been amazing people on my team that believed in this vision, and they played a huge part of making it for what it is today, for telling their friends, for coming on the trips. So it's been a long journey. I think at one point we probably had dozens of ambassadors that were hosting events, coming on the trips, like just, helping to host people. I mean, now we have a formal program. We have full-time people that are hosting the trips. So we've come a long way, but we couldn't have got there without all the people that really, we call them believers, people that believed in me, believed in the brand, and just really, you know, all being in it together.
Now, getting people to buy into the vision, was it a matter of you having something actually typed out in like PowerPoint presentation, or was it just, hey, let me have a moment of your time and share this idea?
Ah, man. So for people that worked with me, it was literally in the beginning, like, hey, if you want to host trips with me, like I'm hiring people. If you want to host events in your city, I'm hiring people. And honestly, like when you're just getting started, it's believers, it's people who really like you. It's people that believe in you and they want to be a part of something. I think human nature is we want to be a part of something. It's not always an economic or a financial trade. Like literally things that I love and I care about, I will want to do it. Like it's not always about the money. And that's how it started originally. And then obviously once we got money, it was like, okay, like now we're going to pay people. You know, so in the beginning we couldn't afford to pay a lot. It was like, hey, like, let's do this, what the compensation is. I used to host team retreats and fly everyone in. We went to Colombia, we went to Mexico, and the whole team, like I want to say almost 30 people that were amazing. And I'm still friends with most of them today. I think all of them at this point, but cut that out.
You said,
I don't want to say that. Friends, I know. Probably 30. I think at one point we were as much as 30 people that work for me that were hosting trips or being on trips. And it's really like a testament, and it's going to test like who you are as a person, because people believe in you first when you're getting started. They want to be a part of what you're doing. And I also think like as you're starting a company as an entrepreneur, there's multiple paths. Like I never raised money. Everything was always my money. And so the difference between people that are raising funds, it's a bit different. Like I had a successful corporate job, so I would invest tens and tens, probably six figures into this business to do whatever I needed to do, website. So I see a lot of people trying to start companies without any investments. And I hate to tell them, like, first of all, the first year I went full time, 5 years in, that was the first year we hit 1 million. To even hit 1 million in sales as a small business is very rare. It's a small percentage. At this point, we're in multiple millions. But even that, like, it's not a common feat. But I don't feel like I could have gotten there if I didn't make an investment in the people that I worked with, and also the different processes that I needed to take it to the next level. Like you can't, you know, I used to gamble all the time at the casino, and they would say like, scared money don't make money. You can't be scared. Like, you know, when I talk, you know, I do coaching now with entrepreneurs, and it's interesting. You know, some people are like, oh, like, I don't know if I can afford to do this. And I'm like, you know, you have to figure that out for yourself. But I also think, can you afford not to have some type of coach? I mean, you pretty much are going to hit the ball and miss every time or miss half the time. Like at a certain point, there's a cost to not getting help. I had coaches since I started, always invested in coaches.
Very interesting. Just to support you along the entrepreneurial route.
Yes. And so one of the things that I think people miss is some of my friends joke who are entrepreneurs. They said, yeah, we make it look easy. So people go on this journey, they try to start a business and they hit a lot of blocks in the road and they're trying to do everything themselves. They don't have a mentor or a coach. And what I always tell people quick is from day one, I wanted to start a blog. I had coaches that I met with the first 18 months that literally took me from 0 to like 50K, I think, in the first year that we did. But I didn't, because like we're not taught in school how to run a business, how to run financials, how to hire people, how to market a business. Like people feel like, oh, I'm on social media, I know how to like market my business, so I'm going to tag on my friends and that's not how you do it. Like, no.
And that's not necessarily taken away from what they can do. I love the fact that you mentioned using those who believe in you at the beginning as ambassadors. They may not get paid. Totally understand. Been there, done that one. But then you also move from there to talk about investing in self. I know in 2020, there were so many sister friends who reached out and they're like, oh my gosh, I can see clearly now, because it was 2020. And we were leaving our jobs like left and right. And then COVID hit and everybody went back to work. But my thing is, I think we had to get to a point, including myself, to understand that it's not about, do I stay at a 9 to 5 or do I become an entrepreneur? I am a huge advocate also that you have to be the first one to invest. And your first investment is you working, staying at that 9 to 5. And you find ways to even allow that 9 to 5 to equip you with some skills, and you volunteer stuff that will help you with your company, and also to network with people that you wouldn't be able to cross paths with. So you have to be strategic.
Exactly.
What other things along that line could you share with us?
I always say your 9 to 5 is your first investor.
Yeah.
It's your first investor. So I always tell people, like, you need to think about, what is the one thing that's going to help you move to the next level? Right. And once you understand that one thing, how do you get that done? Obviously, when working a full-time job, and I did that for the first 5 years, there's only but so many hours you can work. So when I did have a full-time job, I was hiring at least a VA to help me with administrative things. I did start to hire marketing. I really feel like marketing and VA is like the first things you should consider getting help with, or do it yourself and take a course and learn. At the end of the day, there has to be some type of path to success. And I think that path is much easier to get there if you can find someone who's already done it, or someone that is an entrepreneur that can kind of short circuit those steps. Because the challenge will come is that, say you're starting a new business and you go from 0 to like tens and tens and tens of thousands. What's probably going to hit you is you don't know how to process tens and tens and thousands. Because if you started out as 0 and now you're processing 50,000 worth of product or whatever you're selling, you're probably at capacity. You probably broke everything you set up because you can't do all that by yourself.
And that's so good. That's so good you bring that up, because we do try to operate. We try to operate on how we, like, there is a starting point where we're grinding, we're doing, we're every woman, since it's the two of us, we're every woman at some point.
Oh yeah.
But then as it grows, and I mean, it doesn't even have to be like truly significant growth, but if it's something, and then don't be a part of the product or service that you're offering. You can't do in front of the scene and behind the scene and do it in excellence, because you begin to wear, at least let me say I've experienced, if you begin to wear it well.
You do. I mean, you will break. I mean, I just encountered this myself. We started a private trip planning service. And when I started it, I was the one doing it. I was the one meeting with clients. I was the one fulfilling it. Very quickly on, we figured out a couple things. A lot of people want to work with me. It was not hard to sell it. We actually surpassed our objectives, our goals in selling it massively, very quickly in the first couple months. I mean, we literally had like 10 calls a week. Oh, wow. And I was thinking like, oh, maybe we'll get like 10 and a quarter. Like, no. And so what happened was I totally fell down. Like, I could not do it. And then I was talking to one of my mentors, like, I'm about to cancel this service. And she was like, no, you need to figure out how you can deliver it so that you're not going to be doing all the work. Because if you want to scale your company and grow your revenue line, you need to figure out how to scale any process. And so I figured it out. I hired someone that can do a lot of the work so I can show up as the talent. I mean, that's my new thing this year, is me showing up as talent. I have an executive assistant, I have a team. But what I realized, I'm in my own coaching program, is as an entrepreneur, I can't show up as the talent if there's no processes in place for my team to follow. Otherwise, it's like Claire every hour, because people don't know what to do because you didn't write anything down. And then once you get processes down and people trained, like now, I've gone through like half of the day, no one's asked me anything outside of a verification code to pay my cable bill. But the magic of that didn't happen overnight. We literally have, if you think about when we were in corporate, when I was corporate, you have those wikis that tell you everything. We have an Up in Your Life wiki now being developed. And I saw the draft and we have processes written down. So it does a couple things. It helps you scale. So when we double to 10 million, we have processes. So when I hire people, it's not going to be painful. My team can point to the processes in place. When I have a baby next year, they're going to be able to still roll without me. So my friends tell me like, when you talk about you're not going to work for a year, you mean like work a little? I was like, no, I'm not really going to work. And they're like, that's not possible. That's not possible. I said, maybe in your business, it's not possible because you haven't empowered your people to make decisions, but I have. And that's what, I've been talking with my team is when clients ask you for stuff, to me, as a luxury provider, almost everything should be, yes, we can do it. Okay. There may be a price for it, but it's easier to be like, you want to do this? Yes. You want to add a hotel? Yes. You want to change trip? Yeah. Whatever people want to do, just give them what they want. That's what people want to hear. They don't want to be told no, because if it's a no, it's more. So how do we turn things into a yes and accommodate our clients so anything they possibly can want is a yes? It just may be extra money. And that's a different mindset. A lot of businesses be like, nope, can't do it, can't do it, can't do it. And it's so frustrating as a consumer, like, because when you want something, just tell me how much extra. I mean, I think for my clients, they're busy.
Your target audience.
They ain't got time for this. If they want to switch a trip, they want to switch. They just want you to say yes. If it's going to be $100 more or whatever, they don't really care, because it's more like, I want the flexibility to do whatever I want. Yeah. And I know I'm the same way. I don't care about stuff. I may want to order something and they're like, oh, you can't get it in an hour. Can I pay extra to get it when I need it?
Yeah, but it's so interesting because, okay, you've said a lot in regards to empowering your team, setting up processes and policies and some protocol, which is great, because I know there's a lot of times when we are the talent, we the service provider, we're everything, but we've not empowered or even thought about how do we, if we moved ourselves, how does this live beyond us? How do we begin to even establish legacy? And that's a very strategic way that you just mentioned. We're able to do that. Then also understanding who your client is. I think that is very key. And I'm sure it didn't start off as clear as you know today, because it's obvious,
oh yeah, you like, no, can't do that, and then it's just the whole thing. Clients are like, yeah, you can, let me talk to Claire, let me talk to this person. So I was telling my finance manager the other day, like, everything needs to be a yes. They're like, what? And I was like, hear me out. When you call Verizon or whatever, you just want them to help you. If they say they're going to upgrade your minutes and it costs $10 more a month, you don't care. You want to get what you want. People want to be told yes. Obviously, there's some things we can't do, but very little.
But it goes back to the experience and the value of customer service that is a core asset to the work that you do and the service that you provide.
Yeah. Right. I mean, it's literally like, it's a difference between if you're at like a Ritz-Carlton or Four Seasons and you say, hey, where's the elevator? They're not going to point. They're going to take you to the elevator. So how do you treat people with the same mentality? I always tell my team, if someone asks for something, don't point them to it. Give it to them. Attach the file. Give them the exact link where it is. Show them a picture, but don't make someone do extra work. Every email should provide not only the answer to the email, but also what they may not have thought of and anything else of value. Because that's, to me, overextending yourself, great customer service. And I gotta tell you, like, people's customer service these days, like a lot of businesses, their customer service is trash. They really feel like, I'm just gonna do this and that's okay. And you may have that mentality as a business owner, but I just feel like your growth of loyal clients is gonna suffer because people don't want to be treated like that. They want to be treated very well. They want to feel like you appreciate them.
Yeah, and that brings me to the point of true commitment from the leadership. That is something that leadership has to embed in the culture. And I don't care how small your company may be or how large it may be, it has culture. And it has a feel. It has a thought. When people mention just the name of it, there's a feeling, there's a mood, there's an experience that bubbles up. And I think leaders have to be aware of that. Great point. What would you say has been the one accident as a leader of this organization, this amazing organization, that you had to learn a lesson from, and it's the one that resonates most with you?
Oh man, I think the thing that probably changed the most is having someone quit on me. And so not quit on me, but when I lose people when they quit, you know, I think I always feel like when someone quits, a part of me feels like, okay, not even a part of me, like I want to understand why they quit. Like, did they quit because they weren't happy? And if they weren't happy, was it something that I could have done better? I think early on in my business, like I wasn't a great leader. Like I was a good leader, but I wasn't a great leader. The reason I wasn't a great leader is because now I do feel I'm a great leader. Why? I really care so much more about mental well-being and how people feel that I actually take time during our team meetings to talk about it.
Okay.
I share, and so I really, you know, before I came from a corporate structure, and it's very much like go hard, go home.
Yeah.
I definitely have shifted. So I do talk to my team about flexible work schedules. I tell them about how the day before I went to the pool at 3:30 and hung out the pool from 3:30 to 7. And then I came back and I finished my work. I talk about how when I don't feel well, I'm not working, I take off. And I suggest they do the same. I really talk to them about meditation, breathing, picking up a hobby. We spend time talking about what did you do this weekend? Like, what's your hobby? What's your personal highlight? Why? Because happy people are happy employees. When I was in corporate, I don't feel like it was enough emphasis about my personal life or support for me to have things outside of work. It was very much like work, 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 work. This is the way it is. And so for me, it is really important, like my employees' well-being. How do they feel? Like, how are you feeling? I try to reach out to them once a week privately. How are you feeling? Like, how was your weekend? What did you do? Like, did you have any cool food? Whatever it is they like, I really push them to do it. And they see me doing the same thing. They know I have tennis lessons. I'm in Chicago, and I'm probably most proud of this week that I have stuck to a schedule with tennis lessons. I've been doing it every morning from 9 to 10. I get up early, check my messages, and I go to tennis lessons. And I'm doing this. And my team is always telling me, like, how are you doing it? Like, you're hanging out with friends, you're getting a lot of work, you're always available. And I told them, like, it's not easy. Like, some days, yesterday I was in bed half the day, sleeping and resting. I think people downplay rest. They feel like I'm not productive. Actually, you are.
And what my saying, you can't give what you don't have.
No, when you're on E,
It shows. If you think you may be plowing through and doing some great stuff, but I'm telling you, you can people know when you are not centered.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I know. Now tell us just briefly a little bit about the coaching company that you launched.
Yeah. So during the pandemic, that was awful. Let me tell you, having a travel business during the pandemic, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Literally, to go from like 6-figure months to 0 was very earth-shattering, mind-blowing. And I think I cried every day for almost a month. I had to increase my therapy. And the hardest part for me was I quit a very lucrative job to do this. And you know, I felt like at one point every week someone was expressing how disappointed they were, that they couldn't travel and that they wanted refunds, even though they had agreed to non-refundable terms, even though we had this worked out that we would reschedule. You know, it was a lot dealing with people and trying to like walk them through, like it might be a year, and explaining to them why these vendors that we paid money that we got from them like aren't going to give a refund, you know? And so that was very difficult. And so during that time, I did not lay off one person. And so instead, I created another business. Sometimes I feel like maybe I should have shut down and took a break for myself. But I created a coaching business because I wanted to work with entrepreneurs. And so now I coach entrepreneurs. I do group coaching programs. I also do entrepreneur retreats. And I also do private one-on-ones where I help entrepreneurs with the marketing, the sales, the customer service, the building a team, and all those things to get you from 0 to like millions.
Yeah. Now, what would you say is the most popular request for those who have already experienced your coaching?
Oh, I feel like marketing is like the biggest struggle people have is marketing. Also sales processes, having a funnel. Sales funnel is like this scary marketing term. And so one of the things I've always been good at is teaching. So teaching people like, how do you create a funnel? In other words, what a funnel is when someone goes to your website, what is the path for them to buy from you? and literally mapping that out from the first email to the first interaction on Instagram. What is that link pointing them to? But mapping them through this experience. Like, for instance, when you attended the Ghana experience, you go to our website, there's like an experience telling you to learn more, then it's asking you for your information. We do things a lot different. People complain because you go to our website, you can't get any pricing unless you give us your email.
No, there is nothing. You have to engage.
Biggest year yet. Why? Because we have collected, this is basic marketing. You can give people all this information, but then you have no way to follow up with them. I literally changed the way we're selling travel. No one sells travel like we do. We have a webinar series that runs every week. We collect people's email. And so we actually ask our clients, why didn't you buy? We know why people aren't buying. When they buy, we know. And we also have a way to follow up with people. We know exactly what a webinar people attended. We're capturing all this data so we can actually resell spots as they open. And a lot of people like, you know, I come from sales and marketing, you know, all my years in corporate. So I come from sales and customer service. I've learned a lot of marketing so much that I'm dangerous right now. But what I've done differently is really look at client behaviors, understand and ask questions. And so now it's easier to sell when you understand what people want. And you can't do that if your website just shows everything. Because I ask people like, how are you following up? This is cool. How do you follow up with people? How do you even know what people want? You're not doing anything. Like, you just got a whole website is open. People just go click around and they leave, they bounce. Yeah. And the reality is most people have to have 10 plus interactions with you before they even buy from you.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that means that they may go to your website. They may go to your Instagram. They may download something for free. They may see you pop up in a Facebook ad, but most people, they may not even be running the pixels to track when people are doing it. So it can be at the forefront of their mind, but there's a lot of things that have to happen for people to buy.
Yeah. And then there's I learned this year, this whole term of lead generation.
Oh yeah.
So how is it that you begin to engage? Like, first of all, where are your people? Going back to you knowing who your target audience is, knowing when they're going to be where you're expecting them to be,
right?
Because there's like it's such a science to all of this. But then to even just again get the lead generation and the leads, and knowing where you show up and where they show up, is it in alignment? And then even from there, I know one seminar I sat in, they had mentioned how a lot of people have gotten away from the traditional marketing, but yet some of the very basic of marketing, such as capturing emails, people are not doing that like they should. And they said that is the number one thing, because people would rather you directly message them and directly get in touch with them, because it's more personable, but it's also more intentional because it's in my inbox. It's not me going after something.
Absolutely, absolutely. Our last launch, we did not post a single thing to Instagram outside of a list of where the trips were. We didn't post every day. We did a 2-week launch, well over 1 million. And so I created this term called a silent launch. It's not something people talk about. A lot of people talk about, oh, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to post here, go to Twitter.
And every day.
Right. And the thing is, I'm learning there's more way than one. There isn't one way to be successful. There isn't one way to make 1 million. There's 1 million ways. And so whatever you're doing, lean in to what you're good at. And that's going to be your secret sauce.
Yeah.
And then hire help, people that are smarter than you.
Right. So as you begin to move forward and we are starting to see things relax a little bit in the world, or at least parts of the world, what are you most excited about?
Having this baby. I am most excited about having a baby next year and really just enjoying more of life. I've worked tremendously hard the last decades. And I'm looking forward to enjoying my life now and smelling flowers now and raising a child and, and having my family. And so that really brings me the most joy. Like, I've done the whole go hard, go home all the times. And so for me, it's about leaning into my personal brand, I want to be keynote speakers at events. I really want to talk to people, inspire them. I'll be putting a lot of my intellectual property into a digital store. So we have a digital coaching store coming with a course that has all the information I've been teaching, as well as downloads for people that are getting started, where they can like download if they need a list of all the software I recommend and things like that. Just getting that down. I mean, I really want to have time to spend with the baby, time to spend with my family, and just enjoy life. Like, I feel like there's an overemphasis of being productive. Let me tell you, I'll be productive eating at the hottest club or being on the nicest rooftop with my baby or my family. Like, it'll be great.
I have to ask this question
Mhm.
because I know someone listening is probably like, oh my gosh, she's at the height, somewhat at the height of her, travel company. She's launched this coaching company that actually is being embraced by many. And that the word is just kind of trickling out. It's almost like a drip campaign you have going on around that, because it's almost like you had a cohort, and now those cohorts are telling others, and now the demand is there, and you're going to introduce a baby in the middle of all that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You know why? Because when you build a business that goes and runs outside of you, the business can still run without me necessarily dipping my hand in everything. And so that's the difference when you think about these large brands like Marriott. The Marriotts aren't necessarily working at the Marriott every day. To my knowledge, I don't think they are.
I don't think.
And so for me, it's about building a business, not being a solopreneur. Solopreneur, if that's what you want to do, been there, done that, it's great. Like, I'm past that. I have a full team in the back office, a full-time marketing manager, a full-time executive assistant. I hired people who are believers in what I'm doing to help execute, and giving them opportunities to basically be effective and be productive and be excited about coming somewhere that they believe in. And yeah, for me, I'm prioritizing, doing what I want to do, which is more time for family. Again, like, it doesn't mean I'm not going to work, but I'm definitely retiring in the next couple of years. But retirement to me means working on what I only want to do. And it means no more like, sometimes I am up at 7 a.m. or even 3, 4 in the morning, and I go until 8. That's not how I want to live the best years of my life.
Yeah.
I want to be able to look back and know, like, for the time my parents have left, maybe 20 years. If I'm being honest, people usually are, I don't want to be morbid, but people got to like 60s, 70s these days, it seems like. And so I want to spend time with them. I want to have memorable experiences and not of them in wheelchairs.
And I think that is just commendable of you, because a lot of times we have the mentality to chase, to get, to capture more, and then even more than the more.
It never stops.
I know, but I know some life happened, different life occurrences happened on this year, for me and a whole bunch of people that I'm aware of. And once you begin to really understand what it is that you really want. And, there's a dear friend of mine, Jade Harrell, that says, determine what the life is that you want, and to build your life around that idea, but also say no to everything that's not it.
Yes.
And that doesn't get you there. And so I hear you saying that without apology. And I think that is amazing, because we don't hear enough of it. Again, it's, oh, I'm doing this, I'm busy, I'm this, and busy is not being productive. Busy is not making really things happen. It just means you've not been responsible with your time to be busy all the time.
I've been busy for most of my entrepreneurial life. Too busy to hang out with friends, too busy to show up for family. And that's changing. Like, I am like, this year I've started prioritizing. My friends got an event somewhere, I'm going. And I'm going, I'm showing up, I'm showing them support, and I'm being there. Because at the end of the day, that's what matters. The rest of this stuff, yeah, it matters. You need to have money to fuel these kind of things. But, like, once you get the money, figure out how you can keep the money going without taking all of your time.
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
Yeah. It's man, this is just so good in regards to, so many key lessons. And, would you say you can have it all? Or would you say you have it all?
You can have anything you want. There's no limit to the universe. There's no limit. I mean, I'm shopping for baby grand pianos this week because I'm going to be taking up my piano lessons again. I think the key thing is
people miss the step to be clear on what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Be clear on what you want. Know that universe, God, you have money, you have things you can do. You know, I was telling someone the other day, like, it's okay to go back home and live with your parents. I did it. Stack your cash, invest. If you start when you're younger, it's way easier.
Yeah.
There isn't one right way, but I think that a lot of times fear gets in the way. A lot of people would rather be unhappy than to actually do what they want to do. I can't tell you how many people are like, oh my God, like you're moving to Chicago. Why are you moving to Chicago? And I said, I'm moving to Chicago for love. They're like, what? I was like, my spirit told me to move to Chicago and I'm moving to Chicago. And they're just like, I couldn't do it because this and that. And I'm just like, it's interesting sometimes. I think how whatever you're doing, like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this business-wise. Oh no, I couldn't do that. When you share what you're going to do, your moves, a lot of times you will trigger people and their fears will come out and you start hearing them like, oh my God, oh my God. And at the end of the day, it's like, well, it's a good thing. You don't have to do that. Keep doing what you're doing, but this is what I'm doing. And one thing that I know is unique about me, I will switch it up because I'm only going to do what brings me joy. The joy alignment in my life is so high and necessary. I'm not going to do, I have to, my friend, Coach Tiss on Instagram, she's one of my best friends in Mexico. She talked about, she said to me one day, joy alignment, and it's just stuck with me.
I love this.
It's underrated, but I focus on what brings me joy day in and day out. And when I'm stuck in situations or work that I don't like, I think about how can I make this easier for myself? Mm-hmm. Why is this happening? And then I use that to kind of spark, especially when it's stuff at work that I hate doing. Like, how do I make this process better?
Yeah.
Instead of just going through the pain all the time.
You have the platform right now to share one piece of advice to entrepreneurs. I'm going to go with the entrepreneurs. Because the entrepreneurs, we need to be signing up to go on one of these excursions. What one lesson would you tell them, or one piece of advice would you share?
I would share that trust your gut, believe in yourself. And when I say trust your gut, I would actually tell them that you already have the answer. Unfortunately, a lot of my entrepreneurship career, I was always asking other people what they thought about this for my business, for my clients. What I learned is that you already know the answer a lot of times. And you're trying to get someone else to buy in or co-sign in it.
Validate.
And obviously some things you don't know about, but I'm talking about those things that you already know. You already came up with the plan of what you want to do. Just do it. Stop asking everybody. I saw Ronnie Brown post today, like somebody flushes stuff down a toilet and they got 1 million followers on TikTok. So it's like, you may think, oh, people told me travel industry saturated. No, it's not. Nothing is saturated because you are the secret sauce. You are that special thing. And nowadays people are buying because of the brand, the story, the who you are, what they connect with. And so don't be afraid to lean in on that and do it. And the worst thing that can happen is it doesn't work out. Guess what? We can always go get a job. Plenty of jobs. I can always go back and work for somebody. And entrepreneurship isn't like this 7th level. It's not better than working for someone. It's just a choice. Well, I still love my corporate job until I didn't, and I left. But do what makes you happy, whether it's entrepreneurship or work for someone, whatever makes you happy, that's what you should do.
Wow. Claire, this has been absolutely amazing. The time went by just way too fast. But I am going to, we're going to stay in touch. This platform is a resource for you and your team. Whenever we can be of assistance, do not hesitate to reach out. I'm looking forward to crossing paths with you in Chicago.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Thank you, those who have been listening. I know that there's been something that has sparked a fire in you. I want you to go ahead and flame that fire, make it spread. We've got some tools. We've got some work to do too, though, in regards to making things better. Claire Soares, again, CEO and founder of Up in the Air Life. You can see more, hear more, experience more by visiting upintheairlife.com. And you can get more information also about the trips, but and also about the coaching. I know some of you may want to be, I'm sure, interested in that to learn more, even if not, as she mentioned, not sitting in a course, but also downloading. So keep your eye out for that. But definitely make sure you go and check out some of those excursions and those trips. Your life will be forever changed. Trust me.
Absolutely. You can follow me online on Instagram. On Instagram, I'm Claire B. Soares, CLAIRE B. Soares, SOARES.
Yes. Wonderful. Thanks so much. Want to thank all of our listeners. Thank you, our sponsors, KSTL 690, Jubilee, Sparkman Pathway to Careers, and Covenant Exchange LLC. Thanks, everyone. I'm your host, Nikki Roach. You've just witnessed another conversation to help you out in the nick of time. Be good, be safe. Remember, you already possess everything you need to be successful. Just tap into it. Go and be a blessing.